don't. Cito Gasson always looking so composed. Joe Carter fouls off a pitch, and it's right in your living room. Yeah, that would bring a tear to Cito's eye. Top of the sixth, it's 3-2 Jays. Frank Thomas, look, his back foot off the ground, and he still sends it out 443 feet. His first homer since September 11th. Tied at 3, still in the sixth, 2 men on. Lance Johnson triples to right center. Devon White, Devo can't get it. Burks and Johnson score. Sox go ahead 5-3. They go on to win it by a final of 7-4. The home team has yet to win in this series, which is now tied at 2-all. It's the first time in ALCS history that the visiting team has won each of the first 4 games. Lance Johnson drove in a career-high 4 runs.
It goes that home field advantage theory, huh? We lost 2 in Chicago, they lost 2 here. I can't wait to come out and tee it up tomorrow.
This afternoon in Game 5, a rematch of the Game 1 starters, winner Juan Guzman and Blackjack Jack McDowell, who gave up 7 runs on 13 hits in the opener. After a day off, the NLCS resumed in Atlanta. The Braves didn't feel the need to practice on their off day, but the Phillies sure did after the beating they took in Game 2. Tom Glavine allowed 1 base runner through 3. Here he punches out Inky. 2-1 Phils into the 6th, tied at 2. Pendleton on third, McGriff on first. Dave Justice doubles to left. Both runs score. 4-2 Braves, who scored 5 in the 6th. Bottom of the 7th, bases loaded. Mark Lemke doubles to right center. 3 runs come home. 9-3 Braves. They go on to win it by a final of 9-4. 9 runs in Game 3, 14 in Game 2. The Braves set an NLCS record for the most runs in consecutive games, 23. Tom Glavine pitched 7 strong innings to earn the win. And tonight in Game 4 at Fulton County Stadium, Danny Jackson and John Smoltz will see their first action in this series. It will be interesting to see if Smoltz has any control problems since he hasn't pitched in over a week. More from both league championship series later in the morning. And a scary moment for the Suns' Charles Barkley last night. He was injured at the end of the Suns' practice at training camp in Flagstaff, Arizona. Barkley collapsed while running wind sprints and remained on the floor for more than 30 minutes. It could be just a pinched nerve or a more serious disc problem.
Well, right now I'm a little sore, a little nervous, a little scared more than anything, but I'm in good hands. I have a lot of confidence in Doc Emerson and Joe and the entire Suns medical staff. It makes my leg, like I say, go numb, and it gives me a little problem in my hamstring, but I think I can play through it.
Barkley is to be examined in Flagstaff today. Suns team Dr. Richard Emerson will then determine if more tests are necessary in Phoenix, 140 miles away. The diagnosis probably will not be complete until sometime later tonight. The marquee matchup in college football on Saturday was, of course, the Miami-Florida State game. For the 3rd year in a row and the 5th time in 7 years, both came into the game undefeated. Seminole fans hoping to pluck Miami this time in Seminoles' first series. Sean Jackson runs right, and he's going to get a terrific block by number 12, Matt Fryer right there on Paul White. Jackson with a 69-yard touchdown run, 7-0 Noles. Still in the first. Charlie Ward rolls right, and he finds a wide-open Matt Fryer behind the defense. This goes for 72 yards. Don't worry about a field goal this time, Noles fans. Florida State wins with ease, 28-10. The Noles snapped the Canes' 31-game regular season winning streak. The Canes had won their last 8 games against #1 ranked teams. Charlie Ward added to his Heisman numbers, completing 21 of 31 passes for 256 yards.
There's a big sense of relief because I'm so used to this ball game, going home, pouting all night long, getting up and having to do that television show, and fussing all through that darn thing. You come back and have to explain to y'all why we lost it. This will be so odd coming in tomorrow not have to do that.
This is just the first step toward the Noles' quest for a national championship. They still have 2 formidable opponents, Notre Dame on November 13th and the Gators on the 27th, and the Noles won't have the benefit of playing in front of the home folks at Doak Campbell Stadium. Sir Charles said this week he always thought he would retire with Michael Jordan, but MJ apparently had other plans. Throughout the morning here on Sports Weekly, Michael Jordan will hold court now that he's decided to step off of it. We'll chat about the many aspects of Jordan's sudden retirement from the NBA. It's back to school when we come back. the Fighting Irish certainly schooled the Pittsburgh Panthers. You'll see for yourself in just a moment.
Sports Weekly is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
The Icemen have returned. The first weekend of the NHL season is upon us, a full slate of games on Saturday. And what better way to begin than with the great one, Wayne Gretzky, as the Kings went gunning for their first win of the season, and number 99 still has it. Wayne Gretzky beats Peter Ing for the second of his 2 goals. Gretzky with 2 goals, 4 assists. Dominic Lavoie had a hat trick. Kings win 10-3. In Tampa's new home, the Thunderdome, the ceremonial face-off in the second. Darren Pupa tries to clear. Brett Severin stops and shoots. Scott Levens tips it past Pupa. 1-0 Panthers. Great game by John Van Briesbroek. The Beezer had 36 saves. The Panthers with a 2-0 shutout. In Hartford, Eric Lindros, a great move around Adam Burt. Gets a puck on a stick. Phillies win by a final of 5-2. In Montreal, third period, Habs up 7-4. The goalies get into it. Grant Fuhr looks to get in the fray, but Patrick Roy gets on top of Fuhr, who was ejected. Then late in the third, Roy wants a little more. He gets into it with Rob Ray. The Habs pound Buffalo by a final of 7-4. And now for the rest of Saturday's results on the ice. Much more to yesterday's college football action than just the Miami-Florida State game. The LSU Tigers played host to Florida last night. Let me warn those of you watching in Bayou Country this morning, it wasn't pretty for the Tigers last night. Danny Werfel to Jack Jackson, goes for 39 yards, 10-3 Gators. In the third, Werfel fumbles a snap, then pitches to Eric Rett. 58-3 is the final, the worst loss in LSU history. Ohio State and Illinois. Johnny Johnson fumbles, and Jason Simmons recovers. Then Bobby Hoying hits Joey Galloway. From 11 yards out, Ohio State wins 20-12. Michigan and Michigan State. The defense stops Tyrone Wheatley for a loss. Then Jim Miller hits Scott Green, the 3-yard score. 17-7 Spartans with the upset. Pitt and Notre Dame. Jeff Buras returns the punt. 60 yards for the score. The Panthers have had problems with this all year long. Irish win 44-0. Oklahoma and Texas. Hey, that's Barry Switzer in the crowd. And he loves quarterbacks who could run, like Cale Gundy scoring on the option. 18 yards out. Sooners win 38-17. How about Tennessee and Arkansas? Heath Schuler hits Craig Faulkner for the score. Ball's up 21-7. Schuler decides to take it in himself this time. The Vols win by a final of 28-14. Pair of undefeated teams, Louisville and West Virginia Mountaineers, up 2 late. Jeff Brom is picked off by Tommy Orr. West Virginia hangs on 36-34. Washington and Cal just over a minute to go. Damon Heward hits Mark Buhner for the score. Washington hangs on 24-23. BYU and UCLA, John Walsh is sacked by Jameer Miller, who had 4.5 sacks. The Bruins had 12 sacks on the night. How about the Bruins on offense? Wayne Cook throws deep to Kevin Jordan. And watch Kevin Jordan. He just shakes off the defender. Get out of my way. And scores 59 yards. Bruins romp 68-14. And here are other scores from Saturday. You know, Bino Cook is anxiously awaiting to have his say about yesterday's college games, so let's go back to Dick in New York. Dick?
Bino, what a super day in college football. Florida State convinces everybody that it's #1 in the nation. Well, almost everybody, maybe even you. And Wisconsin, West Virginia, and Kansas State, each with only 5 victories all last year, all go to 5-0. Now, Did Florida State impress you enough so you'll give them a chance against Notre Dame in Florida later in the year?
Well, I give them a chance. I'm just saying, Richard, that they're playing at Notre Dame and they're playing at Florida. And if you go to Notre Dame in November and Notre Dame has an outstanding team, you're going to have a long afternoon. Every college team in the country has had long afternoons at South Bend.
Charlie Ward, how does he stand now for the Heisman?
He has a 15-game lead with 15 games to play.
Even the Phillies couldn't blow them.
Yeah, maybe.
How shocked were you by Michigan State over Michigan?
Not real shocked. The game was at East Lansing. It's a rivalry game. Michigan's won the last few games, figured this was going to be easy, getting ready for Penn State. It would have shocked me at Ann Arbor, but not at East Lansing.
Still in the Big Ten, Big 11. Is it possible that after 31 years, Wisconsin could go back to the Rose Bowl?
They could, but it's going to be Penn State.
You think it'll be?
I don't think. I'm almost positive.
Oh, you know. Wisconsin?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
Wisconsin has the advantage that they don't play Penn State. They do have to play Ohio State and Michigan, but they don't play Penn State. If they could manage to win those two games and Penn State won its games, you think Penn State would be picked over Wisconsin?
I think they would pick a higher-ranked team. In 1953, Illinois and Michigan State tied for first place, did not play each other. Michigan State's first year in the Big Ten, they voted Michigan State to go to the Rose Bowl.
But Michigan State was their geographic neighbor. Go to your top 5 now.
Okay, Nebraska moves up to 5th place, despite having a tough time with Oklahoma State, but still I think Nebraska will be in the Orange Bowl. Number 4 will be Florida, the team we picked to win the national title. Tough time at Auburn this coming Saturday. Many great Florida teams have lost at Auburn. Number 3, who else except the Fighting Irish? For Notre Dame, very simple. Notre Dame wins the rest of its games, including the bowl game. They win the national title. Number 2, Florida State. Still, don't get mad. And I guess the only person in the world still voting Alabama number 1 is yours truly. Forgive me.
I forgive you for almost anything. And Bino, I know you think that the Sports Reporters is the fastest 30 minutes on TV, so stick around and on the hour, listen to Album, Lupica, and Roden speeding through everything from Jordan's future to Bowden's Seminoles. But first, coming up next, the best year of Michael Jordan's life and the worst, a year of triumph and tragedy.
The cover. I spent some time with Michael earlier. No reason to ask him if he's going to retire.
Before we continue tonight, a late-breaking story of enormous interest.
For the second time in 2 years, the NBA has lost one of its mega stars.
And then on a night when Chicago's baseball team opened the playoffs, its championship basketball team may be closing out an era. One of the true pillars of the NBA ending his career.
From a high of the White Sox being in the playoffs to the ultimate sports low of, losing a hero in Michael Jordan.
ESPN has confirmed from sources close to the Chicago Bulls that at a news conference tomorrow morning in Chicago, Michael Jordan will announce his retirement from basketball effective immediately.
I think so sad nobody want to talk about it.
Speculation is that Jordan's decision to leave the game stems from the murder of his father in North Carolina this past summer.
As for Michael's night, he threw out the first pitch of Game 1 of the ALCS, and then he went up into a private box with his family, and he's watching the announcement on the air at CBS.
Jerry Reinsdorf said that he would not confirm the story. I said, by not confirming it, Jerry, does that not lend credence? Jerry went on to say, well, maybe it does, but we won't have anything official to say until tomorrow morning.
And then Michael decided to exit stage left in the 7th inning.
It's all over.
Michael, please come back.
First Magic Johnson, then Larry Bird, and now Michael Jordan. In 2 years' time, all 3 legends have retired from the NBA. It may not be fair to compare the 3, it's not, but we may never see another basketball player like Michael Jordan, who officially retired on Wednesday.
I'm very solid with my decision of not to play the game of basketball in the NBA. Reasoning being, I've heard a lot of different speculations about my reasons for not playing. But I've always stressed to people that have known me and the media that has followed me that when I lose the sense of motivation and the sense of to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball. I'm a very optimistic person. I guess the biggest positive thing that I can take out of my father not being here with me today is that he saw my last basketball game, and that means a lot.
You have to wonder how much that really weighed in his decision, knowing that his father did indeed see his last basketball game. There was absolutely no evidence Jordan violated league rules, and there was absolutely no connection between the NBA's investigation of Jordan's gambling activities and his retirement announcement on Wednesday. That, according to NBA Commissioner David Stern, who on Friday said the investigation is now officially closed. So at least one issue in Jordan's troubled year has a happy ending.
This year was a personal gratification, because of the stuff that I dealt with.
I miss the camaraderie that's been established, and even some of the practices, and the trash talking and the pickup game. But the rest of it, I remember, but I'm ready to put it behind me now.
If he'd have got thrown out, half the people would have left. The vendors would have lost money, scalpers would have lost money, ball boys would have lost money, everyone would have lost money. Referees are ridiculous in doing that. I don't care how much they fine me for what I say.
I don't consider it a double standard. Everybody gets their equal breaks, equal share of breaks.
6, 5, 4. Michael Strip got it back. 3, 2. Michael falls, fires. Yeah! Does it again! The ball's red. He looks at the crowd.
He started chasing and wanting to double up the bets to make the bets bigger. And I kept beating him. And he kept wanting to play more. I was making an effort to stop wagering, to negotiate down, but he kept wagering, and the sequence led to what ultimately was a round for $600,000. Michael's conversation was always that he could afford. He never told me that he could not pay, and never told me that he would not pay.
It was unfair that I was being considered a criminal for doing something that is not illegal. Gambling is legal.
Michael's a grown man. He knows what he can and cannot do. Like I say, we have a job at hand right now, and that's to beat New York Knicks, and we're not concerned with any allegations concerning gambling.
I will not quit this game because of what the media has done to me or what other people have done to me. I will quit this game because my skills are diminished. I can't find the challenges to keep pushing myself. My love is always going to be there. But my pride won't let me leave because someone else is going to push me out. I'm going to leave on my own terms.
Mr. Jordan had pulled off the side of the road obviously to rest for a while, and he was shot to death while in his car and was taken to the state of South Carolina and placed into the swamp where he was found.
We're pretty strong and we're moving forward with our lives, and we got a lot of memories to think about, and we just try to keep forward. I won't miss the cheers because it was there. It was there. I can remember those things, but I don't need it to live. I don't need it to survive. And that's very important for me.
Say it ain't so, Michael. Say it ain't so. It is over. Jordan's accomplishments over the past 9 years may never be duplicated. 3 straight NBA titles, 3 times named the league's most valuable player, and every year of his fabulous career, he was selected to the All-Star team. And despite his retirement, he'll probably be the leading vote getter again this year. No athlete has touched children the way Michael Jordan has. We'll have more on that later. And we'll also discuss the economic impact of Jordan's retirement. Joe Montana isn't ready to call it quits just yet. He wasn't able to practice this week as he nursed a sore hamstring. The NFL Week in Review is next. The Eagles may wish they did. Their thrilling victory over the Jets was costly. Week 5 also saw a number of thrilling punt and kick returns. Craig Kilborn takes a look back with the help of Swami Jr.
It's very cloudy in there.
Marty Schottenheimer may have trouble focusing, so we'll give him a clear look at the past week in the NFL. Trick plays. A Denver 30-yard touchdown pass isn't launched by John Elway. Arthur Marshall did the honors to fellow receiver Derek Russell. Joe Montana threw his 248th scoring pass. Offensive lineman Joe Valario caught his first. If you're a special teams coach, there is
some sense of uncertainty
about your team's play, and you may not want to watch. Tyrone Hughes of the New Orleans Saints fielded a Rams punt and sprinted up the middle of the field nearly untouched for a 74-yard touchdown. Dexter Carter fell just 2 yards short of matching the feat. The 49er punt returner went 72 yards for 6 points against Minnesota. The most spectacular jaunt to the end zone was performed by Green Bay's Robert Brooks. The kick returner went 95 yards for a touchdown, and on the way met little resistance from his last obstacle, Dallas kicker Eddie Murray.
It was a bonehead play on my part. I didn't want to hit him thinking he was out of bounds, that I might get a flag for hitting him while he was out of bounds. I should have at least, give him a healthy shove rather than just kind of leaning on it.
The tip drill paid off for 2 players. Henry Jones gathered a deflection of a Phil Simms pass off Howard Cross and went 85 yards for a score, while Wade Wilson was a bit more fortunate. His throw glanced off Anthony Newman into the waiting arms of receiver Patrick Newman for a touchdown.
I hope I make my point.
Clad in red, Marcus Allen faced the silver and black for the first time and made them pay, scoring for the 100th time in his 12-year career. Rocket Ishmael couldn't wait to hit the field for the Raiders, and he made the most of his chance, catching his first NFL touchdown pass. And Denver safety Dennis Smith introduced rookie Roosevelt Potts to some orange crush. Philadelphia story continues to play. Down 21, and without Randall Cunningham, the Eagles soared back and clinched the victory with Eric Allen's magnificent 94-yard interception return for a touchdown.
I got a feeling that this is a football team that never says die. If you want to be in a foxhole, I want to put all of them in the foxhole. That's the kind of atmosphere you have.
But the Eagles will have to battle without Randall Cunningham and Fred Barnett. Injuries have the quarterback out 12 weeks and the receiver out for the season. Joe Montana pulled a hamstring muscle against the Raiders and left after throwing just 9 passes. Knee surgery performed on Rodney Hampton Thursday will likely keep the running back out until the end of the month. And Chris Miller got the word that knee surgery has ended his season.
Percentages 50-50.
Eric Dickerson had an iffy week. The running back thought he had been released by Atlanta, but returned after finding out they wanted him back, but in a reduced role. The 49ers wanted Jerry Rice back so badly, they gave him a 3-year contract extension that could earn the All-Pro over $9.5 million. Lastly, San Diego's John Carney missed a 48-yard field goal attempt and thus ended his NFL record streak at 29. Maybe you should take some lessons from an old lineman.
Yes!
Hey, I turned around, though.
Yes! Never get tired of seeing that. Speaking of the NFL, on the eve of the Oilers' return to Buffalo, we'll hear from the Oilers QB under fire, Warren Moon, in our Sunday conversation in just a bit. Sunday Sports Day will continue in a moment.
I just felt kind of sad because, I don't know, like, all the bad stuff happening to him, and he just had to retire because he couldn't take it anymore.
He's a great player, but I knew he was going to retire this year or next year because he wants to play golf.
Well, how much will you miss him?
All my life.
Coming up next, how Michael's retirement looks on the canvas of cartoonist Bob Englehart. And we'll face off on whether or not Jordan did the right thing by retiring. Back in a moment.
Your life. I'm 7 years old, and my dad takes me to Yankee Stadium. My first game. Sat there the whole game next to my dad. Taught me how to keep score. Mickey hit one out. Good day. I still have the program.
When I was about 18 and my dad and I couldn't communicate about anything at all, we could still talk about baseball. No, that was real.
As Air Jordan comes down to earth to stop and smell the roses, members of the athletic world respond to the shocking news. Phil Jackson and the Chicago Bulls fall off their flying carpet and hit the hardwood floor. Hard. In New York and Phoenix, coaches Riley and Westfall drop to their knees to give thanks to the miracle of '93. In Boston, former Celtic Kevin McHale scratches his head to recall, Michael who? Nike refocuses its global marketing strategy from selling basketball shoes to golf shoes. Magic, Bird, Kareem, and Dr. J ask Michael to join their stamp club. Atlantic City offers to put up a hoop in his honor if he retires to the boardwalk. And Vanity Fair begs him to do a cover posing only with his basketball. But Michael walks away from it all, savoring his final comment for the media.
It is time for Face Off, our weekly war of words, wit, and wisdom. And the most profound words in sports this week were, I quit, I retire. They were spoken, of course, by Michael Jordan, the former basketball player, halting his career after 9 NBA seasons and 3 straight NBA titles. Did Spike's friend Michael do the right thing by retiring at the top? Or will Michael find that he's got to have it, the joy and rewards of playing ball? That's the subject of our face-off today between a pair of peripatetic journalists. They probably both know that the original meaning of peripatetic was Aristotelian, disciples of Aristotle. Mitch Albom of the Detroit Free Press, who applauds Jordan, and Mike Lupica of the New York Daily News, who does not. Here's Mitch and Mike on Michael, with Mike musing first.
If you buy into what he said the other day, that he has to walk away, that the price of fame is too steep, yeah, then he did the right thing. I don't think he stopped because he wants to stop playing basketball. And if that's what he's done now, then he's gambled away 1 year or however long of the greatest athletic prime I've ever seen, and I think he made a mistake.
This is absolutely the best move he could make because he doesn't need that 1 year. He doesn't need the next 2 years. This guy is going to be healthy enough to come back 2 or 3 years from now and pull off the biggest comeback in a career, and that's the only thing he has left to do. If he wins another championship this year, it's boring. The cover on Sports Illustrated is ho-hum. Nobody cares about it. He waits 2 years and comes back. It's a brilliant move.
Do you believe he is retired?
No.
Okay, so now we're talking about a sabbatical, except that the guy stood up and said he was retiring. Maybe it's my level of cynicism.
He also stood up and said, if I want to come back, I can come back. Retiring means I do what I want to do. It's a bright move for him right now. He's got to clear his head. He might have some other problems he has to clear up as well. Get out of the league, get out of the spotlight for a while, get himself back together, come back strong. He's 30 years old.
I don't believe that when he comes back, whatever length of time he takes off, he's still going to be Michael Jordan. And if he thinks this is going to work, he ought to go talk to all the other people who have tried this in varying degrees over the years. At least Jim Brown had a movie career to go to. When he comes back, he will not be the same guy.
Oh, he'll be bigger than he was before.
Doesn't Michael have a slightly larger bank account than Jimmy Brown?
And a slightly better golf game.
Then if you think this is all about money, then you guys are right. I just think that when he is, I think he's on the other side now, and I just think that any time he takes off will diminish him even more.
Instead of ho-hum, couldn't the Sports Illustrated title have been foreshadowed? Never mind. Coming up next, a look at the championship series in the National League and the American.
The American League Championship Series has been one big happy road trip, with both the White Sox and the Blue Jays failing to win a game at home. And for the White Sox, their first playoff appearance since 1983 was overshadowed in their city by the news of Michael Jordan's retirement. Gary Miller begins our look back at the week's playoff action from the ALCS in Toronto.
In a series opener, Juan Guzman's wildness set up a 3-run fourth inning that got the Sox the lead. But those were their only runs. They left 13 on base. Toronto answered with 3 more in the 5th, then knocked out Jack McDowell on the 3rd of Paul Molitor's 4 hits. A 2-run homer in the 7th that put it away in a 7-3 rout.
It was ugly. It was ugly. You know, Juan struggled the whole night. I mean, they had runners on base the first 4 or 5 innings. He was in trouble the first 4 or 5 innings. And, you know, from a good standpoint, they never took advantage of that.
Just 14 hours later, Molitor's record 6 straight hit produced the decisive run when Tony Fernandez made it 2-1 in the 4th inning. The most successful pitcher in playoff history, Dave Stewart survived a wild first inning with just 1 run and was masterful in the 6th. No outs, bases loaded. He took the matter in hand, wound up 7-0 in ALCS games and up 2-0 in this series. Not only did the scene shift for Game 3, but so did the edge. Lefty Wilson Alvarez turned Toronto's intimidating attack around, went the distance, and remained unbeaten since mid-August. After leaving a record-tying 23 on, the Sox erupted for 5 runs in the 3rd inning, including a 2-run single by Ellis Burks, who had stranded 13 runners.
Well, it was something, you know, I had left a lot of guys on before. In that situation, I had hit the ball well, just right at the person, and to see it fall in there, you know, I needed that confident builder, and I just went into the night feeling a lot better.
Saturday night, Lance Johnson hit his first home run in more than a year off Todd Stottlemyre, but the Blue Jays knocked out Jason Beret with a 3-run third. Tim Belcher bailed out the rookie from a bases-loaded 1-out jam, and Toronto never recovered. Johnson added a 2-run triple just past Devon White, and when Roberto Alomar was gunned down by Tim Raines, the series was even at 2.
All year, you know, when we had our backs to the wall and the race was getting a little closer, somebody stepped up and had a great night. We're going to need somebody else to step up tomorrow, and hopefully, you know, everybody can.
Now with the National League playoff recap, Mark Schwartz.
In Game 1, Curt Schilling set a chilling tone, freezing the first 5 Braves he faced, setting a championship series record for consecutive strikeouts. But after 8 dominating innings, Jim Fregosi pulled the plug, though Schilling was unwilling.
You know, I've been saying I couldn't have argued harder to stay out of the electric chair than stay in that ball game right there. When I go out there every 5th day, it's my ball game. You know, when he says no, it means no. You know, he's Italian, so you kind of got to back off a little earlier than you would most managers.
Enter Wild Thing, who gave Fregosi his 119th nervous breakdown. And Kim Batiste, in for his defense, threw a double play ball into right field, which led to the eventual tying run. But just as the Phillies went from the outhouse to the penthouse, so too did Batiste. His 10th inning base hit, the difference in a 4-3 Phillies win. In Game 2, the crime dog took a bite out of Phillies starter Tommy Green, and 3 other Braves played home run derby, including Terry Pendleton, who had gone 27 LCS games without one. But the early leader in the MVP race was Otis Nixon, who reached base 8 times and drove home 4 runs in the first 2 games.
It's a lot of fun going on right now, a lot of excitement and everything, so, you know, it's a time to turn it on right now. It's not like you got the rest of the season to do it. It's now or now never and everything. So, you know, just because I'm not stealing bases, they're expecting me to steal bases and right now, and I'm swinging the bat a little bit better and everything, so I'm going to continue to swing the bat.
Game 3, more of the same. The Braves rudely interrupted a Terry Mulholland shutout with 5 in the 6th, 4 more in the 7th, as Tom Glavine won his first NLCS game in 5 starts.
Most nights we feel as though if we hold the other team to 3 runs as pitchers, we're going to win. And when you know that going out there, it takes a tremendous amount of pressure off you to feel like you've got to go out there and be perfect.
There seems little doubt that this is the best Braves team of the 90s. The others averaged 3.78 runs a game in the postseason. This one averages nearly 9, and they've committed no errors. Meanwhile, the Phillies have committed 4 and countless other defensive miscues. Their bullpen has given up 12 runs in just 11 2/3 innings. From Atlanta and the National League Championship Series, I'm Mark Schwartz, ESPN.
Even though it's been a frustrating year for Warren Moon, he's still able to put his career in perspective.
If I was to retire without winning the Super Bowl, my career would not be unsuccessful, but it wouldn't be complete.
My dandruff's really bad. The itch drives me.
With the Houston Oilers off to a disappointing 1-3 start, much of the blame has fallen upon Warren Moon. The 37-year-old quarterback has thrown twice as many interceptions as touchdowns and was benched in San Diego in Week 3. Tomorrow night, the Oilers return to Buffalo, site of last year's playoff disaster, and another chapter in a long line of lessons for Moon and the Oilers. Pam Oliver sat down to talk with the Oiler QB.
I think the time to celebrate is when the game is over, because having been around here, you don't celebrate too soon. You don't get too happy too soon.
you wait until the game is actually over, and when you're in the locker room, you can have all the smiles and the pats in the back and all that.
Waiting for the snap, 28 yards, ball is down, up, and it is good! With 16 seconds to play.
If I was to retire without winning the Super Bowl, my career would not be unsuccessful, but it wouldn't be complete. I want to retire with a completed career.
Wright puts it down. The kick is on the way, and it is good. And the Bills have won it. The Bills have won it.
I had people tell me they got sick to their stomach watching the game. They had to turn it off. They couldn't watch it anymore. You know, you think about that all the time only because people never let you forget it. And I don't think it's something that we will never forget because we were involved in the game. It was a history-making game, and we knew we had a great opportunity to win that football game, and we let it slip away.
But now that the Oilers are off to a 1-3 start, and you yourself have admitted that you're struggling, is there extra pressure on you given the uncertainty of next year?
I think the only pressure on me for this year is the fact that I'm running out of those chances for a championship. I'm not even looking at what's going to happen next year. If I'm not here, I'll be somewhere if I can still play. If I can't play, I'll know that in myself, and I'll give the game up. But if I can still play, somebody will want me if it doesn't work out here economically. The thing that's kind of funny is that I think every player works his butt off to get to this position in his career where he can make the big dollars, and he's worked hard and he's achieved the things that he needed to achieve to do this. Now you've finally gotten there, and then the thing that's going to probably get you out of the league is the fact that you make too much money. So it's really weird that you work your tail off all these years and get to this point, and then that's the thing that's going to put you out of the league. I just hope that I'm judged on how I play my performance. And if my performance isn't well enough, then I'm ready to move on. But I hope it's only because of that and not because of money or economics.
Tell us about the lesson you had to sit down with Josh, specifically after Pittsburgh last year, and explain to him about the cruelty and the hatred that exists in this world.
We had just lost to Pittsburgh, and I didn't play particularly well that day, and I had just signed a big contract, I think, the week before, so I guess there was a lot of high expectations for me opening up the season and for the team, and when we lost that opener against Pittsburgh, you know, the reactions came out from all the fans, and I was in the locker room, and I was dejected because we had lost. There's no question about it. I was sitting by my locker, and then my son came walking in, and he had tears in his eyes, and I asked him what was wrong, and he wanted to know why everybody was calling me names, and I guess a couple of people had said, how could you pay a so-and-so like that $14.3 million, and on and on and on and on. So I pretty much had to explain to him just about how people are and how disappointed they get, first of all, when we lose, and that all people out there, you know, aren't on my side, that I have a lot of fans in the stands, but there are some people that are against me too, and that's just that way in the world. You're going to find people that are for you, and you're going to find people that are against you, but you have to realize what you're capable of doing and not worry about what those people have to say, and try not to let those things bother you.
Can you imagine yourself finishing up your career in anything other than an Oiler uniform?
You know, I've really never thought about finishing somewhere else, but I've been very fortunate in my career to have played 16 years, and I've only played for two teams, and two teams that I chose to go to, which were the Edmonton Eskimos in Canada and the Houston Oilers in the National Football League. So to have only played for two teams, I've been fortunate. So for me to have to maybe go somewhere else, it wouldn't be unlikely, but believe me, I would love to finish my career right here in Houston.
Warren Moon has proven he's no passing fancy. No one has thrown for more yards in professional football than Warren Moon. When you combine what he did north of the border in the Canadian League with his numbers in Houston, they total over 52,000 yards. Fran Tarkenton is the NFL's all-time passing leader with just over 47,000. But there's been a blue moon over Houston the first 4 games of the season, with the Oilers winning only once. Really, since the second half of the Oilers' disastrous loss to the Bills in the playoffs, the Moon just hasn't been the same. In the first half against the Bills, he completed 86% of his passes and 4 touchdowns. But since, he's completed only 56% and has thrown more than twice as many interceptions as touchdowns, but he will be back. Now that Papa Bull has retired, it's time for the Baby Bull to step up.
Not taking anything away from Micah at all, but just the point of coming in and being the quote-unquote the #2 man on the team, and proving something.
Is just to tell him that I'm here for him, I love him, and whatever he decides to do, I'm behind him 100%.
The only thing that disappoints me is the fact that we had always planned on retiring together. And but I'm happy for him because I think all athletes want to be able to retire on their own terms, and I think this is definitely on his own terms.
Jordan is a great player. The league's going to miss him. I'm going to miss him, and I'm just glad I had the opportunity to play with him for 1 year. Because when and if I have a child, like I say, son, I play with the great Michael Jordan for 1 year.
This is like the Roman Legion. You bury your dead and you go on to the next war, and that's basically what we've had to think of.
I can guarantee you people, I may not believe it now, but in 5 years people will be saying, Michael who? And that's the way it is in this league. It's going to be, someone's going to come out, maybe it's Shaquille, someone's going to come out and dominate, and the names on the back of the jerseys change. The league just keeps rolling on.
Michael who? I don't think so. In Jordan's 9 NBA seasons, the Bulls played 71 games without him and won only 22 of those games, and only 1 win without Jordan in 6 tries in the last 5 years. Does Air Jordan leaving take the air out of the Bulls winning another NBA title? Here's Dan Patrick.
It was 3 years ago when Indiana guard Reggie Miller said what many had thought. Take Michael Jordan away from the Bulls and what do you have? Now we will find out. Chicago will try to offset the loss of the best player in the world by adding the best player in Europe, Tony Kukoc. The Bulls also have half of Jordan's $4 million salary freed up to go shopping on the free agent market. And Scottie Pippen can no longer live in Michael's shadow. He has to cast his own.
We feel like that we can carry on. We don't know. We don't know what Thursday may bring us or how the season will carry us, but, you know, we feel like that we can still go on and we can still have a good ball club.
I'm psyched. I am so psyched. I could barely sleep last night, really, because I'm so excited about starting training camp and starting the season.
Is it because Michael's not here?
Honestly, yes. Not taking anything away from Michael at all, but just the point of coming in and being the quote-unquote the number 2 man on the team and proving something. I mean, before he announced the retirement, I wanted another month off, but now I'm ready.
You better step up and perform. That's really what it comes down to. This is the opportunity that maybe you asked for or knew was going to come along at some point, and now let's see what you can do.
The team believes in themselves, and a lot of them have stepped up and gained their identities and their own expectations for themselves. This is the perfect time for me to walk away.
I don't think it is beyond the realm that Chicago could repeat, but certainly it's going to be extremely difficult for the loss of Michael Jordan.
During his 9-year career, Michael was a serial killer of NBA teams, leaving a trail of defeated attitudes in his wake. Now it's payback time for the rest of the league.
If I had to pick one team that is really popping the champagne today over Jordan retiring, it's got to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. If Jordan hadn't been on the Bulls, there's a good chance to think that Cleveland might have actually won a championship themselves.
In the East, the Knicks going to win the East more than likely unless they get upset, if they just don't get overconfident, because they're playing against the little sisters of the poor.
Charlotte is a real contender for the Eastern Crown now, and I think it's wide open.
Michael's departure will be felt league-wide because unlike other sports, such as baseball and football, the NBA doesn't showcase its teams as much as it promotes its talent. Now the commissioner must ask for volunteers to lift Michael Jordan's publicity torch.
We have a load of great young and some not so young players who are spectacular athletes, great personalities, and who are prepared to step up and shoulder their burden.
Alonzo Mourning, in my opinion, is the next great, unbelievable player. Shaquille O'Neal's a great physical specimen.
There's a lot of young, upcoming players in the league, and it would be unfair to say that Shaq is the next man. So I'm just going to go out and play hard, and whatever happens, happens.
With or without Michael Jordan, the NBA is scheduled to open for business November 5th. That night will be filled with a galaxy of stars, but void of its brightest one ever. I'm Dan Patrick, ESPN.
Once the news broke, the Bulls were at one time 25-1 long shots to win their 4th NBA title in a row. Now the odds are a more respectable 12-1. The Knicks and the Suns are considered co-favorites, and since the Cavs don't have to worry about the mystique of Michael anymore, the odds are 8-1. They'll win it all this season, and the Cavs, for one, must be happy to see Michael go because he has given them fits over the years. Keep in mind, I'll be back in 30 minutes with the Sunday morning edition of SportsCenter. Chris Berman will be by my side with news and notes from the NFL, including a rematch from the AFL Championship game from 25 years ago. Norm Hitzges will also be along with a look at the teams he believes are ready to reel off big winning streaks. That, plus reports from both league championship series at 11:30 on SportsCenter, right after Dick Schaap and the Sports Reporters, which is coming up next as Sunday Sports Day rolls on.